Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session. My name is Kevin. I'm Director of Onboarding at Pixelz. And today we're going to walk through our really exciting, recently launched integration with Capture One. But before we jump into all that fun stuff, there is a chat there on the right. Go ahead and say hi and let us know where you guys are joining from. Also, drop any questions in there as they come up. And I've dedicated some time here at the end of the webinar where you're going to be able to ask questions about the integration as they come up. And today, I'm going to be joined on stage by David Grover at Capture One, and he's going to walk us through a little bit of the integration from his perspective too. David, you want to come say hi to the...
Hello, everybody. Yeah, and thanks for having me, Kevin. Looking forward to showing everyone, the integration part of Capture One.
Fantastic. But maybe a few comments before we started on the why and where this integration started from in the first place. For those of you that aren't aware, Pixelz is a Copenhagen-based company, and right down the street from us is Capture One, and we decided to basically integrate the two most used platforms in photo studio fashion industry, Capture One and Pixelz, and find out how we can really empower photographers and people in the studio to be able to do more and to do it quicker, reducing bottlenecks and inefficiencies in that process, really allowing studios and photographers to capture images and get them fully retouched within one fully integrated workflow. And let's talk a little bit about how we do that. So to start, the first prerequisite is you do have to be a customer with Pixelz. I'm going to share my screen here, and we will walk through exactly how that works. Share my screen. Good. So for those of you that are not a current customer with Pixelz, we encourage you to head on over to pixelz.com and go ahead and click Get Started, and you can get some information about how to be a customer. For those of you who already work with us, you'll be pretty familiar with Pixelz and our platform, which you work with on a day-to-day basis. I am currently actually using David's account here over at Capture One that we're going to be sharing and working with today to show the integration and how it works. But first dependency is we need to make sure that you guys have an account working with Pixelz. Those of you that already have an account, you also have specifications. That is the next step. Specifications or templates are our instruction set for what type of retouching needs to happen to every image that comes through the Pixelz production system. For those of you that would be signing up to test Pixelz for the first time and use Pixelz for the first time, if you go to the specifications tab here, you're able to create specifications on the fly and set instructions for different types of retouching. And you can see here in David's account, we already have several different types of specifications in here. We have on model, footwear, flat lay, invisible mannequin, accessories, and even editorial retouch. And the Capture One integration will have access to every single specification that you have on your Pixelz account. For those of you that work with us, that might be tens or even hundreds of different options for retouch available for you directly within Capture One. For the scope of this, we're going to be using David's account and these templates in here, but I'm going to show you really quickly how we can create new specifications to be available within Capture One. We have three different ways to do it. You can do a guided step-by-step way. You're able to manually create specifications, but you're also able to do predefined specifications, which are ready-made templates using some industry best practices for different levels of retouch. And for the scope of this, let's just, even though David already has an on-model template, let's just create a predefined one. We'll call it on-model for webinar, and go ahead and create a specification here so that in the next step, we're able to see that within the Capture One integration as David sets that up. Good. So now if I come back to my specifications page here, we can actually see that I have the on-model one, the existing one that was in David's account prior to this, and then the one that I created here. And those are the two obligations in order to get started from the Pixelz end. Have an account and make sure that you have specifications in that account that you're able to access from the Capture One integration. And from that, I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen and allow David to pop up in here and show how it's going to look from the Capture One side.
All right, thanks, Kevin. So let me share my screen straight away. And sorry, it's hang on, the share screen part is in a different spot. 1 second. Kevin, where is the share screen button? Because there we go. Sorry,
Left
it's got it. Brain fart. Right, there we go. So my screen's going to come up just in a second. So what you're seeing on screen now is our very newly updated web-based admin portal. So a studio manager who has control, if you like, of their install base of Capture One licenses in their studio has access to this dashboard so that they can see certain things like how many licenses they have, manage the users, pushing updates of Capture One, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But within this part is our Actions tab over here on the right-hand side, which allow us to connect to services like Pixelz and then build those actions. And the benefit, of course, doing it here is that it's then all deployed out to the overall install base in your studio. So you don't have to visit each workstation and do the same setup, connect to Pixelz and so forth. You do it from one central location, which is far more convenient than having to run through 20, 30, 50, 100 workstations and do a repetitive process. So the first thing that you would do as a studio manager in your account is to actually connect to Pixelz. So if I look in my connectors over here, you'll see Pixelz over here on the left-hand side. I'm already connected, but it's a super simple, straightforward process. If I just edit my connector, all you simply need to do is paste in your API key, which you can find in your Pixelz account, and then you're connected to Pixelz. So it's just a very simple one-step process like so. Once we're connected, which takes just a few seconds, you don't have to wait 24 hours or anything like that. It is instantaneous. We can go ahead and create some various different actions. So again, these actions are created centrally and deployed out to your Capture One install base. So Kevin made a new specification in my account just a second ago. So if I go ahead and create action, first of all, we can give this a name. I'll call it Pixelz on model webinar as an example, and selecting my service, we want to go into Pixelz, and then straight away we can select any of the specifications that are in my account, and you can see the one that Kevin created is already showing. Now underneath that, I can also add some additional parameters. The one that I'm going to look at, my actual on-model specification, not the quick one that's been made here, also has a custom image field for color matching. So I can add image references. So for example, I can add an image reference. If I was doing invisible mannequin, then we want to have the image reference, which is the missing part. The one I'm going to show you a little bit later uses a color match image field as well. So any of those hooks that you need to do to complete your Pixelz action can also be set up here as well. But if I create this action, that's now created, action created successfully. Let's go ahead and find it. You can see it here. And you'll notice that some show that they're published and some show that they are draft. Now, the difference between the draft and the publish is that when it's in draft status, only studio admins can see it. So you can use that for testing, checking out the spec, checking out the integration, make sure everything is good. And then when you're happy to deploy that across to your user base, you can then go ahead and publish, and then that will appear on your complete Capture One install base. So draft, only visible to admins, published, visible to the entire base. Now, how does that show up in Capture One? So let's move over to Capture One. And we're going to go to our actions tool that we can see here. I'm going to refresh. Let's just pick one image down here. I'm going to refresh my actions. And then down here, we will see Pixelz on model webinar like so. So if I choose that, then that applies that action to that particular image. But as I said, I created, or I should say Kevin, thank you Kevin, had created my on-model specification that also works with a color match. So how would we use that in Capture One? So a couple of different ways you can do this. You can apply an action as you shoot tethered. So if you're shooting, a run of images that are going to use the same action, you can use our next capture actions tool, which will simply apply that to each of those pictures. Or at the end of shooting a particular look or the day shoot, you can then go ahead and set your actions. So I'm going to take, say, these 4 images as an example, and I want to use my on-model specification. So I've got 4 images selected, and I'm going to choose my Pixelz on model. You can see down here. Oh, by the way, if you have many specifications, as Kevin wrote, if I type on model, for example, then we can filter down to those particular spec. So yes, you potentially have a long list of specifications, but it's easy to find them in the search bar. So as I said, I'm going to apply Pixelz on model to these. So now I've applied that action to these particular images. And you'll see here, I've got a custom image field, which is for my color reference. So this image here is my color ref for the garment. You can see here, this has been edited in Capture One, color matched to look exactly like the garment. So then I can drag that and drop that to use as my image reference. Now that will apply that reference to each of those images. So looking at any of these shots by themselves, you'll see I don't have to, drag it to every single image. It's part of this particular collection. So we've got our action and we've got our custom image field. If I, of course, made a mistake, I can just simply delete that custom image field and drag another one in. So how do I send this to Pixelz? So now in my export process, I have a tool here called Export Actions. And I've got a checkbox, which means enable actions. So any image that has already been tagged with an action will then also enable that action. So what I'm going to do is just say export. And then if I bring up my activities window, you'll see invoking actions for 4 images. So these are being exported to my specification, which is 2048 pixels, as you can see here on the long edge. And they've now been sent to Pixelz, dropped into my account with that color match reference as well, ready for processing and returning back to me in Pixelz. Now, of course, if I wanted to then move on and do some other images with a different action, then I could do the same process again. So very simple to just apply those actions either at the end of your shoot or by using our, if I just show you this tool here, next capture actions. Let me just add that quickly. Nice thing is about the interface that you can customize this heavily in Capture One, so you can place any of these actions related tools where you like and where it makes sense in your workflow. So next capture actions, I can select an action here, and then as you shoot tethered, it's going to copy that action over to every single picture. All right, so that's the pretty simple part of Capture One, adding the service Pixelz, creating an action, instantly deployed to Capture One, applying the action to an image, and then exporting it and sending it to my Pixelz account. So I think the next part, Kevin, is back to you.
Yes, thank you. And I just want to touch a little bit on a few of the customization and flexibility that you have within this integration as well. I'll pop back over and share my screen.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Yep. So like David mentioned, you can the integration does use our Pixelz API. So it is quick, it is responsive. You're able to send imagery over really quickly. You're also able to see all the specifications that I mentioned as well. However, you can also do some of the more advanced things like sending color reference files, sending composite resources like inserts for for an invisible mannequin, for example. But basically, anything that is available within our Pixelz API is also available within the Capture One actions as well. But now I'm back over here in David's account, and I'm going to go over here to orders. And we're going to see that we actually have these 4 images that David had selected already shown up here in the account, and they are ready for production. So these are going to be entering production here very shortly, and they will get anything that is done on this specification added to them. For those of you that work with Pixelz, you know our templates have tons and tons. I think we're in the vicinity of almost thousands of different settings that we can turn on per specification. So I've worked out a really good template here for David with some model retouch, some garment retouch, some background adjustments, some shadows, color matching, of course, and that'll go through full production. And then here within the Pixelz platform, you can see that David has also sent over a few other orders, from invisible mannequin orders to editorial retouch. One of the benefits of this is being able to be on a campaign or an editorial shoot on location somewhere and still be able to send off images for a cleanup and editorial retouch as you go along, if you have an AD on set doing selects. Let's look at here some of the previous orders here. So we have invisible mannequin orders that were sent. We can see the original image that was sent. We can see the reference image, which comes from the action, which is the insert. And then we're also able to see the final image here. And we can really quickly do a before and after of the images here. And same for this one here, another invisible mannequin. We can see original, we can see the reference image, and then of course the final image. And then we can look at some of these fun editorial images that you sent over here, David, where we can also check before and after. So the goal, of course, in this is to really, for 2 reasons. We want to eliminate some of that manual file handling. It's a pain point in every studio, is having to wait for the end of a day in a session, exporting your images, having to go to an FTP client, send them over to Pixelz, or triage them out as they go. This way you're able to work in more of a flow. Every product you're able to trigger an action for and send those over to Pixelz as you go, as in a continuous flow throughout the day, and then be able to react a little bit quicker. And I'll touch on that here in just a second. But yeah, before and after images, you can check. You're able to, within the Pixelz platform, give feedback. So if I wanted to maybe remove a little bit of this over here, maybe remove this, let's cut that off there, and really quickly, from an editorial perspective, be able to give feedback really quickly within the Pixelz platform. I'm not going to save that. Let's go and look at this order and see if we can get this into production. If it's in production already, it's ready for production still. This is, yeah, like I mentioned, it's ready for production. I can see I have a color reference. This little eyedropper here is the color reference attached, that still life image with the color checker that David has shown. Good. And I think from a simplicity's sake, that's I won't get too much deeper into Pixelz or the integration. But I want to talk a little bit about what's next. This is the first release of the integration that we have with Capture One, and together we have some ambitions for how we can bring more efficiency and more features available to both Pixelz and Capture One customers. One with AI products, which will be coming very soon. So the ability to do things like image to video directly from Capture One, to send a still image, send it to a Pixelz workflow that then gets animated into a video. Things like pack shot to model. Send a pack shot over through the integration and get a model image sent back. Or even model to pack shot. In this particular image, you could send a model image and then get a pack shot reference that comes back out of it, including different AI steps that we have within our production. Our production also relies heavily on AI and automation, and we have our own internal AI, whether that's something as simple as removing the background steps or model cropping. But any of our AI automations will be coming into Capture One soon, with the goal of being able to be quite reactive on set, to be able to photograph garments and get get feedback right away of what it could look like from an image to video standpoint. And of course, it's quick, fast, dirty AI results. And if you're happy with how it looks, you can send it through a normal Pixelz workflow where we would, of course, add human in the loop, aesthetic reviews, retouching, and color grading, whatever is needed in that workflow. But to shorten that timeline on set from being able to capture to get approved delivery results, and that's something that we're excited about that will be coming soon as well. But I think without getting too much deeper into it, I think maybe we can pop on over to some Q&A. David, what do you think?
Yeah, let's do that, definitely.
Good. We have some stuff here in the chat. We have Johan's asking, is this only available in the studio version, or is this also available in the standard version of Capture One?
So it's available in Studio for Teams and Studio for Enterprise. So yes, you do have to be on a studio version to have it accessible, correct. But it's also an add-on, if you like. So if you're already running on Capture One Studio for Teams or Enterprise, get in touch with your Capture One account manager. They can walk you through the options of enabling this on your account, or taking it for a test run as well.
Good. And I've got a question here. How long does the initial setup of connectors and actions typically take?
Well, hopefully you saw that in the demo that it's pretty good. I guess the longest part is, I mean, when we set up my account, Kevin, we kind of pretty much did it sitting side by side to each other, and that was it. As soon as I had the API key in my account, then it was connected straight away. So you built those specifications for me, which we did, with some, I guess, customization in it. But I suppose if you're using your standard specifications, as soon as you've got the API key and that's added into your Capture One web-based admin portal, then it's an instant connection. So as soon as that API key is in, then you're there. So it's really, I shouldn't say surprisingly, but it is a surprisingly easy setup to get up and running.
Yeah, and I think from our side as well, you saw how quickly I was able to do a predefined specification, using some best practices. That saved right away. He flopped on over to actions. It showed up right away, and we were able to send imagery. So it can go really quickly, especially for new clients that are wanting to start trying this out. For those of you that work with us already, some of our enterprise clients, you probably work with a customer success manager, and you might have quite a few templates on your account. And of course, it is important that we set up actions that match the intent of your templates. If templates are requiring a color reference, we want to make sure that we are setting up that action in Capture One to send a color reference or an insert or anything along those lines. So it is a very quick and easy process. We are very well connected and integrated, but of course the timelines can vary depending on what type of intention you have for the retouching.
But also with the benefit of that central portal, if you want to deploy a new action out to your workforce, whether it's 10 workstations or 100 workstations, it's literally just a case of publishing it, and then it all shows up on everyone's workstations. So, previous kind of implementation or other ways of doing it, that laboriousness of having to configure every single workstation just doesn't cut it. So having that central deployment just makes it much easier.
And I think that kind of answers a question that I have in here that says, can multiple photographers on the same set use different actions simultaneously, or does it have to be configured per person? And I guess you kind of answered that, right? It's done from a studio level.
Yeah, exactly. So you control the list of actions that is available on each of your workstations, and then the photographer or stylist or retoucher or digitech or whatever on the workstation, they can then control what actions they use. And yes, we can have multiple people using different actions at the same time. What I don't know, Kevin, is how that then appears in the Pixelz account in terms of orders and those kinds of things. Maybe you can answer that. But from a Capture One perspective, no problem at all.
Yeah, and then from our perspective, it also will just flow into orders. So we can be receiving on model from 3 different sets and still life from 4 other different sets all simultaneously, and that will all get organized directly within the orders panel on the Pixelz platform.
Very nice.
Yeah. Good. And then I only have one other one in here right now. So guys, if you're listening and you have any questions, please feel free to drop these in the Q&A here on your tab. But the last question I have in here is there a minimum or maximum number of images you can send in a single export?
In Capture One terms, minimum one. Yeah. In Capture One terms, for maximum, I mean, there isn't a maximum really. I mean, we regularly have clients that are exporting, thousands of images at the end of the day. So as long as you have an internet connection and you can, keep sending enormous amounts of images to the platform, and I guess only, Kevin, if there's limitations on your end, but there isn't any on our end.
No, it's the same on our end as well. Of course, you can send thousands of images at the end of the day, but I think one of the main points of this integration is so that you don't have to send thousands of images at the end of the day, and that you can create a flow within your studio of sending images as you get approvals or selects on set, and have a flow of getting those images into production right away. You could even set up flow production directly with Pixelz and be able to get fully retouched assets back within the same day. One of the things that of course takes a lot of time on set is reshoots, and being able to get those images back and be able to check those before that sample had potentially gone from the studio is a big win. I have. Does that work the same for images ready for download in Pixelz that can be transferred back to the workstation or another storage location? Right now, when they are finished in the Pixelz platform, you can download them directly from the Pixelz platform, or we can send them to a different location. I can send them to an FTP or an SFTP server that you have available. Right now, they don't go back into Capture One, but that is actually something that we were talking about potentially expanding the integration into, right? Is that
very nice? Yeah.
Good. And then I have, is there a way to set up shortcuts to trigger different export recipes? Like Command D runs the main export, but can I create other shortcuts to trigger different export actions for different applications?
Yes and no. So yes, so in Capture One, you can trigger a shortcut to kick off the export queue with whatever export recipes you have checked. If you wanted to be a bit more advanced with your automation, then you could lean into using something like AppleScript. So Capture One is completely Apple scriptable, that's a word. And then you can do certainly more advanced things like that using a different shortcut to trigger a different export and so forth. But yes, would require a little bit of Apple scripting on your side of things.
Great. Will Pixelz accept and use Capture One markups and path crop refs? The answer to that is yes for markups. Being able to do markups and comments per image is supported within our API. There is some setup that you would have to do when you're setting up your actions. You can actually send comments, and you can send markup images as well. So that is supported. Of course, we will want to make sure that from a production standpoint, we are understanding the intent of most of your markups. One of the great things about Pixelz is that, if you're always marking to remove, stray hairs, we would just build that into a specification by default and always do it, so that you don't have to spend time marking that up from a creative direction point every single time. And that is one of the advantages of being able to have so many different specifications with so much different retouch granularity on our end. But for more of the subjective type of retouching with like a crease removal, like remove this one but keep this one, we can absolutely support that via this integration. Crop references we do not support yet at this time though. Good.
I think there's a question from Saf as well, and Ryan a little bit further down.
Let's see.
Ryan says, if I have 8 Capture One users, how many Pixelz accounts do we need?
You only need 1 account. I actually don't even see that on my tab here.
Oh, it's a little bit down on the Q&A. Yeah.
I got it here. Yeah. Good. Yeah, if you have eight Capture One users, how many Pixelz accounts do you need? If you are one studio with one consolidated building and you want to have one and one consolidated place for all specifications, just one account is all you need.
The API key can be, as I showed you, the API key is used, once in that studio admin dashboard. So it's not like you would have to go to your 8 users and connect. You will connect it centrally and web-based. So very simple in that respect.
Great. Can we use an existing spec for this transfer, or do we need to set up a brand new spec? Any of the existing specifications on your Pixelz account that you have right now, every single one of them would be available with the integration, and any future ones that you create as well will be available as well. Good. What else do we have in here? Do I need to be an existing Pixelz customer to use the integration, or can I set it up as a new user? Either way. Just the only requirement is to be a Pixelz customer. What else do we have?
Question from Sergio. We use 2 Pixelz accounts. Can I connect both to one C1 account? I assume that would be no on my end, but I don't know if you know if there's a possible way to do that. Because then that way, I guess, we can only connect to one API key, which is related to one account, isn't it? So
yeah,
no.
Unless you can set up multiple instances of one connector, then I think it's just one Pixelz account is available. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good. Let's see. We have various intermediate steps before sending to Pixelz that we wouldn't be able to forego, but any plans for custom actions?
I guess it would depend on those intermediate steps and whatever those intermediate steps are. I mean, if it's outside of Capture One, there's nothing to stop you, in a post-production stage. If your post-production team is also using Capture One, there's nothing to stop them then sending to Pixelz after your intermediate steps, whatever they are. So Capture One isn't exclusively just used in the studio with the photographer. We have many clients who are, doing some additional post-production use of, and so on and so forth. But also with a forthcoming feature of ours, multi-user sessions, we can have multiple people working off the same session. So if you're in a scenario where the photographer in the studio is shooting, you can have someone in the back office already starting to color grade and make crops and all kinds of other stuff, and then sending to Pixelz. So with our multi-user sessions, you might be able to think about ways to keep those intermediate steps in Capture One, or if they can't stay in Capture One for whatever reason, there's no reason why you can't finish off your exports, resizing, cropping, and whatever in Capture One, and then send that to Pixelz as well. Yeah. Or again, with AppleScript, with other automation, if your intermediate steps rely on other things, sending out to, I don't know, Photoshop or a different application, then again, you could probably automate some of that send and return, and then send to Pixelz as well. But lots of options.
Great, and I think with that, I'm not seeing any new questions popping in. So I think we
covered it.
I think from now, I just kind of want to thank everybody for taking time out of your day to join today's session. David, thank you as well
Very
for
welcome.
joining. After this is over, we're going to send over the recording as soon as it's ready. So of course, keep an eye out on your inbox if you'd like to listen to this again. In that email, you will also find details to get in touch if you are interested about the integration. We'll make sure to get in contact with you to help get that set up. I'd like to thank everybody for joining again, and see you on the next one. Thanks, David.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin.
Bye-bye.
Bye.